This is an introduction to 2D Design version 2. When you open up 2D Design, this is what you will see. The example I'm going to go through with you is a key tag. Now I know the size of the key tag is going to be smaller than 100mm by 100mm. So what I'm going to do first of all is to change the size of the page layout. There are two ways to change the size of the page layout. The quickest and easiest way is to use this button here, layout. If you click on that, it will bring up this box. The alternative route, which is slightly longer, is to go to setup, drawing, and then layout. You get you to exactly the same place, it just takes slightly longer. You can either choose a standard size, A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, or in our case, we're going to user defined. We're going to define it ourselves. So in the first box, I'm going to highlight all of the text and just type 100, and then highlight the next box, type in 100 again. The quicker way to do this is simply just to press tab between each box. So I press tab 100, tab 100, and then I can either click on OK or just press enter. Now the page is changed, it looks like the distance between these dots has got bigger. All that's happened is we've zoomed into the page. What I would do is to change the size of these so we can be a little bit more accurate with our sketches. To do that, go over to grid, double click, and just change our grid spacing to a different figure. In this example, we're going to change it to 2mm. So 2, tab, 2, and again, enter. So the gap between each dot is now 2mm. So, say if I wanted to draw a straight line, I'm going to use the line tool. And let's say, for example, what I would like to do is to draw a straight line that is 50mm long. The first thing I'm going to do is to change where the cursor lands on the page. There are 3 different cursor modes in 2D Design. The default is step lock, and you can select either grid lock or no lock. Step lock will allow you to move along in increments of 1mm. The next one, grid lock, will only allow your cursor to jump between dots. And the size of the dots and the step lock is defined in these 2 boxes here. You can set them to wherever you like. The third one is to untick both, and that gives you free movement all over the page. There are times when this mode can be useful, but most of the time it just increases the chance of error, so you are better having either step lock or grid lock enabled. In this example, we're going to have grid lock enabled. To draw a straight line 50mm long, we would select the line tool up here. We would click on the page where we'd like to start, and then drag in the direction we'd like the line to go into. The length of the line is determined by how far you move your mouse. You can either count the number of dots, and if each dot is 2mm apart, you would times it by 2. Or the easy way would be to look down in this distance box here, and if you want it to be 50mm long, keep going until it says 50, and then left click. Alternative way is to double click on line, type in 50, press OK, and then we left click where we want the line to start, choose the angle, and then left click to finish. What we can also do is double click on line again, type in 50, and if you want a horizontal line, type in 0. If you want a vertical line, tab 90. If you wanted a line at 45 degrees, it's exactly the same process. Double click, type in the length of your line, the angle of your line, press OK. If we wanted to turn that into a cross, what we would do is exactly the same again. 50 for the length. Now we just have to do a bit of maths to work out what that would be in its opposite. 90 degrees is vertical, so another 45 degrees to the left would be 135. Okay, and there we go. Here's a quick example to get us started. It's a key tag. It's got a height of 30mm and a length of 50mm. Got a 15mm radius on the end, diameter 4 hole, put the keyring through, and radius 3 corners. It's also got some customized text in the center, and there are different colors. The green is showing an external cut. This is assuming we're going to use a laser cutter to cut this out. Red for an internal cut, and black in the center, which is going to be engraved. So the first thing we're going to do is to draw the outline as a rectangle, and then we'll add the radiuses. Then we can add the hole for the keyring to go through, and finally we will add the text in the center. Start with the line tool. We're going to use Grid Lock to start with. Then we're going to draw this bottom line of 50mm long. So left click to start, and we're going to drag across till we get to 50. Left click. Some people might prefer the other method, so we'll go through that again. Double click. The height's going to be 30 this time, with an angle of 90. Then we do another one, 50 by 180. Exactly the same as drawing a 0 degree line, but it will start at the right and go to the left. So we can drop it where we want it. And there's no need doing the last one because it should just be dot to dot, close the loop. So the next stage is going to be to find out where we need to start this radius. The clue's in the 15mm. The radius is half of the diameter, so from the edge to the center is going to be 15. So we can simply click anywhere on this vertical line and go to the left 15. I notice because we're in Grid Lock, we can either have a distance of 16 or 14. So this is an instance where we're going to have to use Step Lock. And we need to make sure that we don't have any kinks in our lines. It needs to be straight across. $15. And then from that point, we're just going to go straight down. Next job is to click on this bottom horizontal line and come up 15 again. And then clicking across. And where these two lines intersect is where the center of this radius is going to be. So before we draw anything else, we'll just keep the drawing tidy and get rid of these two lines. And we'll select our circle tool. What I'm going to do is click and hold. I'm going to drag over to the second icon, which is draw circle with a given center and radius. And when I let go, I get a dialog box which allows me to type in a radius and the start angle. So the radius is 15. The start angle we can leave as 0. Okay. Now we can do this by eye and drop it on there. You'll notice that when the lines overlap, they turn white in the center. Or what we can do is to turn Step Lock off. We can double click on this attach tool and we can turn on the one that says intersection. Okay, if we use this, then we're reducing the amount of errors that could happen. So as long as the intersection of the two lines is within the box in the center of the circle, it will snap to the intersection. There we go. a good habit to turn them off straight away. So I'll go back in, turn it off, uncheck, and we'll go back onto step lock. We're still in a circle tool, which is allowing us to draw another circle. To get out of it, the easiest way is to simply right click, and then we'll default back to the select tool. So what we'll now do is delete this vertical line. We're going to cheat and leave the horizontal one in there. I'm going to click on it once, drag out, click on the other end and drag out. The reason I've left that in there is because it is the center line, and we're going to use that again for finding the center of this circle. To put a radius on these two corners here, we're going to use a special tool that's hidden. If we click and hold on the arc section and go all the way to the end, we have the tool which is draw a filleted arc between two lines. The radius we know is 3mm, so 3, enter, and all we have to do now is to locate the two lines. So select, and we've got our 3mm radius, select. What we need to do now is to trim off these excess lines. If we would just use a normal delete tool, what would happen is the entire line will be deleted. So I'm just going to do an edit undo. If we click and hold, we can select the next delete tool, which is to delete part of an object between the nearest two intersections. So all that will happen now is that when I click on a line, it will delete up until the point where the line touches something else. So we can delete. Now we can get rid of these two bits. Delete. Right click to get to our select. When we click on the arc here, we can see how it's been left as one object because it was originally drawn as a circle. So what we need to do now is to have a vertical line from this datum edge 40mm across. So I'm going to get my line tool. I'm going to use grid lock. Start on this datum edge, come across 40. I'm going to click and come up. And just to keep it neat, I'm going to delete that line. If we notice, the intersection isn't on part of the grid because of this horizontal line being in between these two dots. So again, as before, we're going to turn grid lock off, turn attach on, put intersection on, and then we're going to draw another circle. This time it's got a diameter of 4 because it's a whole circle. So diameter 4, radius 2. Okay. So make sure that the square has the intersection inside it. Left click and it will jump to. So we'll double click, turn intersection off. Okay. Turn that option off and put grid back on. And then we're going to right click to get out of drawing a circle. We'll delete that line there. Then what we'll do is we'll add some text. We do that by clicking on the ABC tool. So we'll click on that once, click where we want the text roughly, type it in. If we pressed OK now, the text would appear on the screen, but it would be the default size, which may or may not be correct. So what we're going to do is click on settings, and in here we can change the type, the font style, the height of the font, and alignment. So because I know the height of this is 30, I'm just going to estimate that 15 might be a good size. So I'm going to type in 15, press OK again, right click to get out of that mode, which gets us back to select, and then we can drag that roughly into the right place. That doesn't look like a bad size. If it was, you could simply click on the text, click on property in the bottom corner, settings, and simply change it to something else, perhaps 12.5. There we go. I'm just going to move that out of the way for now. So to ensure that the text is perfectly aligned on this center line, we can use a cheat. What we're going to do is to pick up the text from its center point. We're going to have grid turned off and attach turned on. So pick it up, I'm going to drop it on the end of this line, and as long as the box is over the line, it will jump to the end. Now in terms of height, this text is perfectly aligned onto that center line. I'm going to turn attach off, and then we're going to use this new tool called Radial Lock. A Radial Lock in its standard mode will lock any movement to horizontal, left to right, 45 degrees, or vertical. So essentially it's locking in 45-degree chunks. You can change that by double clicking, and you simply just change the step angle. So I'm going to left click and simply drag across to a point where we're quite happy. There we go. So what we need to do now is to change some colours, and then we need to change this line so it is a dotted centre line. We'll change the line first, so we select the line, we'll go up to line here, change the type, you can play about with the pitch, and then change the colour here. Change it to custom colour blue. If we're going to change the whole perimeter, one way we can do this is by right clicking on a line, right click on another line, right click on another line, and work our way all the way around. Sometimes it's easier selecting everything, so we're dragging a boxer over everything, and simply right click to deselect. So we'll deselect that, and deselect that. That, in this instance, is quicker than doing it the other way around. So we'll go to line colour, change that to green for external cut, press OK, and we can select the circle, colour, red for internal cut, OK. There we go.